All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Brooke again with Thrive Community Conversations. We are going to have a contest to rename this podcast. So if you have any great ideas, please comment on our videos because I am open to it. As long as you capture that we have the most amazing and interesting people, I think, anywhere in St. Petersburg here in Thrive. And so it is only a matter of selecting which ones to talk to. Today, we are chatting with Suzanne Dameron with
Hello.
Third Edge Studio Creative Self-Leadership.
Yes, that's right.
And we're going to get into self-leadership, but I love the fact that you started off saying your tagline is going to change 10 more times. And I love this so much, especially since you're like a marketing and communications person, that you have given yourself creative license to do that. That sounds very much like creative self-leadership.
Oh, thank you. That's a good point.
But so for people who don't know, tell us what exactly is creative self-leadership?
Creative self-leadership is a type of self-leadership that creativity, creative process, creative thinking is baked into it. And what it does is it helps the person or team or organization think of all the possible ideas, solutions, possibilities that they need to in any given situation.
So is this kind of like not talking yourself out of a potential idea before it even gets off the ground?
That's exactly right. That's
Awesome.
exactly right. It's avoiding those. It can be used in meetings. Really, the approach can be used in meetings where you have that meeting where someone says, "I have an idea." They say it, and the other person is like, "Well, that's not going to work." And so that goes away. That kind of conversation ends, and so you give the possibilities their full due, and then you use your judgment and you make your selections. That's exactly right.
I love this. So kind of take us through an example, either a real life one or a hypothetical one, where you worked with an individual or with a team and you utilized this and kind of talk to us about a success story and a great outcome.
Well, I do have a great story, and it was one of the first ones I did several years ago when I first had learned about. I'd become a facilitator in creative problem solving, and someone who was the head of a nonprofit had they launched a huge fundraising campaign, and we had the pandemic a week later, and everything
Gosh.
shut down.
Oh, man.
Well, that killed that. And she was fairly despondent about the whole thing. And she said, I do this thing for personal relief. I make cards. I make greeting cards. Could I turn this into a business? And that's exactly what did. So I brought in the resources we needed, and we walked through the steps, and we explored all the different ways you could do that, and the things that we just followed the steps. And today, she has a greeting card business in Tampa Bay and raises money for nonprofit causes.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
It was.
So,
And it was
can
one
you,
of the first times that I had seen that in full flower.
and going from
yeah.
beginning to end. That's
Yes.
incredible.
And I often find that this works very well for people in career shifts and in transition in their lives. I think some of our, we turn to ourselves, we need to turn to ourselves when we're making those kind of personal transitions. And it offers a lot in that arena.
You know, I never really thought about the application of what you do to the career journey. I think a lot of people, my age at least, growing up when I did Gen X, our parents weren't around at all, but they had definite ideas about what were permissible career pathways. And there wasn't a lot of space for engaging in, hey, I think I want to raise lemurs or, some crazy idea. It's like, no, that's bananas. You're not going to do that. So talk to me a little bit about how you've kind of utilized this with yourself, because I know you've made some changes in
Yes.
your career path and your talents and your applications of that.
Well, I've made several career shifts. I have, and I've done teaching and lived in Italy while I taught English to.
I didn't know that.
Yes, as a second language, and I worked with directors in top global pharmaceutical organizations in Italy. So it was very interesting. And then I ran a communications firm, and I'm now working I worked with leaders in the nonprofits arena, and so now I'm working with leaders. But each one of those requires a skill base, and you need to have new skills. So that's just an example of you don't learn the skill all at once. You
Right.
take it piecemeal. Self-leadership comes in pieces. And at the end, when you add these skills on, there's a piece of transformation here, but you don't approach the transformation. You approach the skill you need to build for that, or the habit you need to break, or the habit you want to interrupt. And so it goes like that. And in each one of those cases, I had skill building to do, and then
That's
you become that person that you need to be.
and then you teach it to other people.
Yes.
So, with your experience in dealing with leaders, both in your previous career iterations and now, what are some of the top three pitfalls that you see, the self-imposed pitfalls that leaders are experiencing?
Gosh, I don't know any leader or self-leader who is standing on solid ground right now. And so you can stay there like that. I'm just going to come back to the fact that great minds, going back to Lao Tzu centuries ago, have always said, before you lead others well, you need to be able to lead yourself. And if anything, skipping over that part. I think I say this kind of in a joking way with a nod to Seth Meyers. Self-leadership is the leadership we need right now because of this shifting ground that we're on. And I think we can be our own best resource. And then we'll be prepared for when the future comes.
I mean, it sounds so easy, right? It sounds so simplistic, and I'm kind of having flashbacks to early days of motherhood when people say, "Well, you can't be a good mother unless you take care of yourself," and it's
And then there's the whole airplane thing. You can't take care of others unless you've got the oxygen mask on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great example too, and it sounds so like, well, of course. I mean,
Yes.
that makes perfect sense. But when you're in the moment of parenthood or leadership, and when the ground is shaky under you, I at least find it very, very hard to tap into that sort of taking a pause, taking a step back. Okay, what's my body telling me? How can I practice good self-leadership so that I can lead my team better? So kind of how would you counsel somebody like me who, in the midst of burning dumpsters around us and trying to put out fires, what are some kind of immediate skills we can employ?
Well, you've addressed a lot of it, just problem solving and decision making. If any of us improve in areas of problem solving and decision making, we're already skill based and way ahead of the game. One of the things you have brought with about you do try to tune into yourself. You try to think of like, what are my gut feelings here? How can I move forward? And one of the things that's most interesting to me in the field of leadership is this more body-based awareness that is showing up. And that really caught my attention when I was in school, and I spent my last year working on it. And in neuroscience, it's called interoceptive awareness. But you're tuning into in a different way. I mean, we've all been taught to tune in or to meditate and to listen within. And people in body-based therapies, they've known for years. They've been trying to say it for years. Well, they were right. But there's a way to tune in where you're listening to your physical sensations. And the science tells us that we think with our body, not just our brain. And so when we can actively and intentionally connect that, we can make better decisions and quicker decisions, really. And I love leading workshops in that because it's so eye-opening for people.
You did a workshop here recently
Yes.
at Thrive.
Yeah. Yes, I
was,
did.
And it was a lot about that. What were some of the things that you found?
One of the things that I'm finding, I did this a lot myself before I brought it out, and actually going to a conference recently where I did this. It brings out the gap between what we think and how we really feel about it. and it comes out in some kind different intensities. Like you might be thinking, well, yeah, I might do that. And you find out when you're listening to your sensations. First of all, when you listen to your sensations, you start, what you're wanting to know is, how does my body say yes? And how does my body say no? And once you tune into that, it's very clear. So you might mentally be thinking, yeah, I might do that, and find out, oh no, I'm actually really interested in that, which then gives a greater impetus to something. It could be as simple as an invitation to go somewhere or a change in career. How your body says yes is crucial to the kinds of better decision making that you can
And
do.
does everybody's body say yes in the same way, or do we all sort of have our unique?
This is what I'm finding out. I don't know. Like I said, I've really spent more time so far figuring out how to make this work and how to help people figure this out. And now that I'm going out to other people, I would say no. I can tell you that my body says yes in more ways than one. And the basic yes is I have a tingle in my right upper arm.
No
And
kidding.
when I get that, then I know that's a yes. But if I have a swoosh up and both arms are tingling, that's a huge yes. Like, heck yeah, I'm doing that. So our body speaks in different gradations, and those are equally important. You know,
What are some other, like with other people that you've worked with, what are some other ways that their bodies have said yes and said no?
there. I think the one we all love the best is, you have a gut feeling, yeah. And that's just, it's clear as a bell. You might not know why, you might know when, but there's just a yes. And not everyone has that as clearly. And this was, I'm going to tell you a quick story
I
about.
love stories. Bring
Okay,
it.
okay. And that kind of illustrates this. And John Coates is an elite economist from Oxford. He's working on the British London Stock Exchange, and with a company, and they're getting outperformed. He's getting outperformed as a trader by other traders. And what he finds out is that they're doing the same due diligence, they're doing the same research he is, but they are making the final call, millions and millions of dollars, on a gut feeling. Like,
Really?
between these stocks, we're going with this one. And so he became so intrigued with this, he went back to Oxford to study, do some people have a bigger dose of this? And the answer is yes. And just like athletic ability, musical ability, some of us are born with a bigger gut ability to have these clear gut feelings. Yes, this is what I'm doing. So what about the rest of us? Can we learn? That was his second question. Yes, yes, we can. And so that's what I'm doing in the workshops. And I've built up the system because I was told, well, if you do this practice, it helps you tune in. No case studies, no feedback, no information. And if you do these steps, you can integrate your mind and body into the decision making. No case studies, no feedback, no how does it work, no what happened. So I built those things out. I took those pieces and built it out, and that's what the workshop is really about. And I think all good self-leadership starts with this process now, because then we can bring that into anything. Once you know how your body says yes
Right.
and no, yeah.
So
So
who would be your like ideal client, either as an individual or as an organization?
I find that first of all, anybody who wants to learn that, yes, in one way, you're in that terrible, it's the worst and best position to be in. Like, this could benefit everyone. So then who are you going to work with? I find that people who are in transition, like we said, I find that people are entering the workforce who are looking for an edge professionally, are really wonderful. They're open to what else can I do? What else can I do to be better? They're interested in, what's my potential? How can I develop that? And so that it doesn't exactly directly answer your question, but I guess people with a growth mindset, people who have curiosity, absolutely.
And so I'm going to shift this conversation a little bit because I am aware, just at Thrive especially, we have C-suite people who are remote. We have business owners, entrepreneurs, tech founders, people who are trying to figure out how AI is going to impact the future of their business. I mean, it's touching every single one of us in one way or another, some for the positive, some for the negative. And I've seen that some of the industries that have they have claimed doom and gloom. For example, marketing. Oh, there's not going to be marketing. You don't need marketing anymore. Agencies are going to be replaced by AI.
Yes.
In fact, the three marketing companies in Thrive right now have more business than they know what to do with. And they've really kind of leaned in and harnessed AI to make them even better at what they do and make them more productive, add more value to their clients. So when we're thinking maybe not just necessarily marketing, but how can AI bolster what you do, it seems contradictory, right? Like you're talking about body stuff and now we're talking about going literally out of your body. But talk to me about how you're integrating this and how the future is bright for what you do thanks to AI.
So yes, you're absolutely right. This isn't something that you would commonly associate with self-leadership. But in fact, there's a self-leadership expert in Europe, Andrew Bryant, who has really been promoting the idea that AI can help us amplify the best parts of ourselves. And he's made the very excellent point that AI sharpens our humanity and it sharpens our value as human beings. And in terms of judgment and presence and ability, empathy, that we bring those to the table. And leaders and self-leaders are asked to be more of this because AI is taking over other things. So he said it opens up a huge horizon of opportunity for human potential.
I've been talking to other people about this, and I agree. I mean, I don't study this like the world experts or like you do, but I do feel like as AI seems to be inserting itself into every part of our lives, I feel like the pendulum is going to swing the other way, and there is. I mean, this is what keeps Thrive in business, right? People crave human connection and humanness, and not only other people's humanness, but their own. And so I see there being a chance to say, hey, this feels weird. The AI stuff feels weird. I need to come back to basics here and the human part of me and others. This is fascinating.
And I use it quite a bit. I use it throughout the day, just like it takes some of the tasks off my desk. But I do use it to explore, and I'm tackling this and working with it, and eventually it'll become a program. But how you amplify the best parts of yourself, and how you can use AI to do that. And I think that's really exciting territory that's coming along.
I hope so. I mean, that's the part that we don't hear enough about is the positive parts of AI and tapping into our humanness and us becoming better humans because of some of this. So you talked about science. Like, here's your chance now. I want you to totally geek out on some of this stuff. You study it all the time. You know the experts. What are some of the things that you most recently discovered that just blew your mind wide open?
Let's see.
Throwing a fast one at you.
So I come across stuff every day. Here's something that would seem to be unrelated, and we'll see. I'll just say it. So Nietzsche, the atheist, the guy who's sick and blind, and he's on a walk in Switzerland, and he has a mystical moment that changed everything for him. And he somehow saw that reincarnation was possible, which goes against everything he had ever believed. But it was in some kind of Groundhog Day, like given infinity, you and I, millions of years from now, may be sitting right here in this studio repeating the same conversation. So how does that relate to this? That in some way, he had a body-mind experience and it shifted everything that he thought about the world. That's the only answer I can think of to that.
Right?
It was just like it's the most mind-blowing thing I've come across recently. In terms of the arena, the closer to the arena of what we're talking about, it's really the work that Andrew Bryant is doing where we use AI to maximize our human potential.
So let's go back. Let's talk about this AI stuff a little bit more, because I wonder how you feel as a person, as a professional, about the obligation that we as humans have right now when it comes to AI. I mean, at this point, most AI models are still large language models. They're just scouring what's already existing out there to regurgitate, repackage it, and give us some insights. So, how do you feel about now is the time, leaders and people who exist out there? You need to start putting content out there that makes sure that whatever is getting mined is quality and not a regeneration of just meaningless garbage. Does that make sense?
Yes. And so what is the question?
Like, what are your thoughts kind of on, as you're counseling leaders and people who are making impacts in the world?
Yes.
What their moral and ethical obligation is to continue to be amazing as humans, so that AI is picking up on amazing humanness and not just recycling self-created, self-reflected stuff.
I see that already happening. I see that AI is already picking up on things, and that's just from personal experience. Like it, in conversations I've had, it will note, hey, that's a really different angle. Hey, that's not something someone usually thinks about. That's not the typical thing that people are thinking about. Or this is yeah. That's all. That's what I think. I think to some extent it's happening, and it will continue to be more so. I just think there's just going to be this whole other field that specializes in that. I know AI is going to business and optimizing those things now, but I think we're going to see more of that horizon. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Yes.
I share enthusiasm for AI.
I'm an AI optimist.
Yeah, me
I am.
too.
Despite the list of things not to be, I am. I think AI will be the solution to its own problems that it creates, if it is all it is cracked up to be. So,
well, let's hope so. I want to make sure we come back and watch this podcast in 5 years, 2 years, and see where we are, see if our predictions were correct.
Yes. You know, you haven't asked me how I ended up at Thrive.
I was going to just ask you, honestly.
Because I think it is a story worth saying.
Bring it. I want to hear.
Yes.
How did you, first of all, how did you find us, and how did you decide? What did your body tell you when you came here that said, this is the place I need to be?
That's a really good point. Because first of all, Hurricane Helene is really responsible for how I ended up at Thrive. And I lost within the 5-hour storm surge that we had, I lost my house, my office, and my car.
Oh, my God.
And so that is how I ended up with Thrive. A neighbor reminded me we had shared workspaces downtown, and that really was, in the midst of a crisis, you don't think of things like that. So thank goodness for my neighbor, Dave. So I did tour. I went to the internet. I found a list, and I toured you. This with Thrive was number 2. And I ended up doing 3. I think there were several in town. But each person you included had said, here's the amenities we have, but what you want to do, how you can make your decision is the vibe. You want to check the vibe at each place and see what resonates with you. And so I already liked how it felt here, and that is a body-based decision. You feel good in a place, you respond to it. But I did go ahead and finish the one on my list, and I ended up coming back to here, and we met and talked. And so that was how I ended up here, and it was a godsend for me, because I had the amenities from A to Z, from coffee to conference rooms, and it really was. And I've stayed. I thought, well, I'll be there 3 months, and I stayed.
Oh,
so
that's
it's been
wonderful.
over a year. It's been almost a year now.
So what keeps you here?
Well, once again, it's being able to have water cooler conversations. I had a home office for a long time, and I like being able to pass people in the hallway and have a quick conversation. And I was talking to someone about a logo they made for their son's baseball team. And I talked to people about their dogs and their kids and their families and their work and their business. And we end up collaborating at times. And so with over 100 companies here and 300 people, there's always community, and then you have your space to work. So it's a great balance.
I love that. Well, I hope you will continue to utilize the community here as you're sort of dialing in what these workshops look like.
Yes.
And using us as your guinea pigs, because it's great. And I need to attend one too. We're going to make it happen. I know that this is something I could definitely benefit from as well. And it's tough, right? So this one, shout out to all of the people who are crazy left brain and right brain equally like me. But it is tough being both very logical and very emotional and empathetic, which is my biggest challenge. because I will have a very strong physical or emotional reaction to a situation, a yes or a no, but my very logical brain is great at talking myself out of what my body is telling me. So they fight a lot.
Yes. Well, I think that comes out in some of the work we do. I approach this body-based leadership with as learning a language, and you learn the language of your body. There's one thing I would like to bring up. It's like, because I think my example is similar to other people, and it's how you get interested in self-leadership. And I became interested in this I've been interested in things like this most of my life. And I started out as a child that was very sheltered environment. And while that was, I guess, a good thing, I became a rebellious. As a teen, I was less appreciative of all the sheltering I had. And I became so rebellious that I could not tell myself what to do. It was hard to manage myself.
Really?
And until I got into yoga, the guidelines and values were imposed from without. And in yoga, I began to develop from the inside out ways to manage myself. And so I became very interested in anything that would work, that would help me manage myself. And so over the years, I have cultivated different skills and techniques. And so then when I ended up going to grad school, I ended up formally studying self-leadership and some of the things involved in that. But I have found that other people who are as interested in self-leadership as I am sometimes follow that path of having a very sheltered childhood, rebellious teenage, needed ways to manage themselves.
So now we know who your target market is. You can use that for your marketing. Hey, were you a rebellious teenager?
Yes.
Let's get you here and figure out how to more healthily listen to yourself and eschew the outside influences.
Yes.
There is a better way.
I think we also find that we can be really more disciplined and more self-managed in professional, but then in our home life, maybe that doesn't really show up. Or it could be vice versa. We need more of this in our professional, and we're more at ease in ourselves and more self-managing in our home life. But I often find that there's a split. And so a lot of the focus of self-leadership is to bring those into balance. And a lot of people come seeking that.
That's brilliant. It's a lot what we try to do here at Thrive as well, right? I mean,
Yes.
I always kind of cringe when people say, oh, well, that's just a space, right? You just have like offices and stuff. And I say, no, it's much more than that. And especially from the get-go, I wanted not to be that. And so there was a moment at which I decided to codify our core values. And we have 4 of them here, which is community, collaboration, cooperation. And then there was not another C word available. But this 4th one is so important, and it is support for the whole CEO. And much like you talk about self-leadership and what constitutes a leader, I believe that everyone is CEO of something. You're a CEO of your company or your house, or at bare minimum, you're the CEO of your life.
Yes.
And so how can we in this workspace make you a better CEO? And I'm constantly looking for ways to bring the things that people didn't know that they needed in their world. Everything from wellness opportunities. You know, we have the whole wellness wing with the meditation room and massage therapist.
I know, I love that. Yes.
Acupuncturist and a nap room. So just those bite-sized opportunities to practice self-care and wellness in the workplace. But it's also about teaching people skills to be better people, better managers, better leaders. And I was so excited when you decided to stay. I remember when you just said, I'm just going to be here for, a month or two until I have to leave. And that you're still here because what you teach is such an important element of that whole CEO, and it's a different angle than what people think about when they think of wellness or training or improvement. I'm thrilled. I'm really glad you're here. I hope you stay around a lot longer.
Well, I certainly plan to.
Good.
Yes.
And really, the other reason I wanted to have you on this podcast as well is because unlike if someone's a social media influencer or if you're a software engineer, someone can state their title or what their company is, and it's pretty easy to suss out what they do. It takes a little bit more of a conversation with you to truly understand what self-leadership is, what creative problem solving is, what that means. And so I'm thrilled that you're here so you can explain more and we can get the message out to anybody who's out there, not just Thrive people, but other people who are looking for ways to get some clarity, trust themselves, improve their leadership.
Yes. And really, I built this business. I moved here, started this business after moving here. And so it's really blossomed with in this space and the people I've connected with and talked to and worked with. So.
Well, and I'm going back to something that you mentioned about the vibe and the energy. It's this will make you really happy since this is kind of speaking your language and kind of going back to Nietzsche and a person you would never expect to have kind of this body experience. Yes. But every single person, I would say, okay, that might be an exaggeration. I'll say 94.5% of the people who decided to come to Thrive and be a member here, and I asked them, what brought you here? Why Thrive? The most logical, not creative, not mindful, not into their body person, and the most woo-woo person that could possibly be, almost always say it was the energy. It was the energy in the place.
Yes.
And it's been something that I've always been really mindful of as I create this place and been very intentional about the people that we bring here and intentional about the diversity of the members that we bring here, because that also adds to energy, right? It would be noteworthy, but not that compelling to have all lawyers here or all realtors or, for that matter, all wellness practitioners, right? It would be flat.
It's a great mix. It's a really great mix.
We work really hard, right, to mix it up and have some of the more body-based businesses, the lifestyle businesses, but also the serious professional services businesses. And I really believe that is where the energy comes from. And it's about the members. We can have all the cool decor in the world. We do. I mean, it looks great.
We do.
But without the people here who are bringing their own touch and bringing their whole selves, their bodies, their vibe, it would just be interesting. So I feel really lucky every day that I've created a place that is so beneficial to the people here that it is actually tangible to anybody who walks in the door.
That's right. It is. Can I ask you something?
Please.
I understand that there may be another Thrive.
Yes.
Down south of us.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit about that?
Yes. Okay. So Thrive is expanding. We have a building in downtown Bradenton. We are really excited. I've gotten a lot of feedback. People like, Bradenton? Why Bradenton? Well, I'll tell you exactly why Bradenton. I'm a St. Pete girl. Moved here when I was very, very young. I've seen so many changes in this city. And but I remember what it was like back in the 80s because I'm that old. And I see Bradenton, and it reminds me so much of St. Petersburg, just as it was starting to kind of come around and not be just old people, and interesting restaurant or two or a brewery popping up. There's so much potential, and I think that's going to be where a lot of growth is going to happen in this region. I love the quote, was it Wayne Gretzky, I think, who was talking about what makes him such a great hockey player. And he said, I skate to where the puck is going to be.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're doing in
right.
Bradenton. We're skating to where the puck is going to be. And we're so excited to be on the forefront of that and to really start creating a community and building a community that looks like this one does. It's going to be hard to duplicate, but
I don't know. Bradenton, I know people down there. Bradenton's pretty cool, and it is a becoming place. So what is it near? What will the building be near?
It really is right in the heart of downtown. It's a little bit smaller than our Thrive here, so it's
in that historical area.
Kind of, yeah. It's sort of sort of where some of the newer construction. It's not an old building, but it's not a new building, and it's about 2/3 the size of Thrive here.
Okay,
but we'll have about 50 offices, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to start doing the work there that I've gotten to do here and really integrate with the larger Bradenton community as well, and create a spot where people want to come and congregate and connect and meet, and everybody wants to have their meetings at Thrive, right?
Yes, that's right. So I've told a couple of people down there that it's coming, so.
It's slow. Construction is no joke.
Yes.
We try to practice mindfulness and self-leadership and not get crabby and impatient and just let things kind of unfold. It has been a long, long journey. We obviously had the hurricanes here in St. Pete in 2024. So Bradenton had that too, in addition to two previous hurricanes, Ian and Idalia. And it's been a long time. There's a lot of construction demand down there, but we'll get there. We'll get there. It's going to be phenomenal.
So, you mentioned the letting it unfold a bit at a time. And I think that speaks to self-leadership as well. And even though you've done this once here, it's still a new thing down there, and your skills are expanding or enhancing, and you're becoming that person that you will be, running two Thrives. And so I guess the point I wanted to make is it's not some big thing. You're not going to leap suddenly to where the skills you need, you evolve into that. And I think that's the point. Self-leadership begins right now. It begins with the habit that you need to break or create, the skill you want to build, and it starts with small intentional steps. And big things happen after small intentional steps.
What a great way to sum that up. I never really thought about it in this way, but you triggered something. Actually, it was a conversation I had with a previous podcast guest, and that was Natalie Makey, who has the massage therapy studio here. And this is a great anecdote. You'll love this. This was very early on in Thrive, and she approached us and said, I want to have a massage therapy space here. And my logical brain was like, absolutely not. That's so weird. Who's going to want to leave their office and strip down and be here? Like, that's never going to work. But my gut was like, this is kind of cool. Let's dig into this and think about it. And so ultimately I said yes. And from that decision, you're saying these intentional steps, from that one intentional step is what really created this opportunity for us to offer wellness to busy people here. So we didn't have a nap room before. We created that right next to her space. We didn't have a meditation room.
Right. So it all blossomed from that.
It did.
Yes.
And then that attracted our acupuncturist, that attracted our functional wellness practitioner, that attracted our homeopath.
Well, I think it kind of attracted me, although I'm really adjacent. I've
Right.
always been interested in wellness, so yes.
And you're right there. You're right on
Yes,
the edge of
right,
our whole
right on
wellness
the
wing.
right.
I but that really is an example, and it was a real departure for me, who traditionally has used my logical side to map out my career, my steps, what are my goals, how, let me make a list and do this thing, then this thing, then this thing. And this was an example where that was not on my radar. It was not intentional. And I really did just allow it to unfold and see what happened. And it's been the most amazing journey. It's been such an incredible asset to Thrive, to be able to offer this. And I see how it's transformed our people here too. I talk to people all the time, but I would never peg for someone who meditates, and I'll catch him coming out of the meditation room, say, "Oh, is that good? You just pop in there and say, yep, every day, just 5 minutes."
That's true.
That's
really nice.
Such a great
Yes.
reset.
Yes. It's nice.
And it's so this job, and kind of going back to what you were talking about your own career path. This position that I have now is sort of the same story as yours. I never set out wanting to do this. It just sort of happened. But it has been a culmination
Yes.
of all the things I've done in the past. And I'm still trying to figure it out and get good at it, get better at it.
Yeah. Yes. So jumping back to something you had said, you were talking about how your body was saying yes and your mind was like, I don't think so. So our body mind, our body is already helping us. I mean, it's not like we're not catalyzing. When I'm in my workshops where I'm teaching people how to listen to their body and include it in decision making, we're already doing it. Our body's has been communicating information to us
We're just
forever.
not listening.
We just haven't really understood all the things that sensations mean. We get the gut feeling, but there's a lot more subtle sensations than that, and we can really find them. Like I said, tingling in the right arm. Who knew? I'm pointing to my left arm as I do that. Tingling in my right arm. Yes. So what in the workshop you're learning how to intentionally, like to make, if you were making a decision about, do I want to open a Thrive in Minneapolis, you could intentionally approach that, bringing your body and your mind together. But it's helping you already. I mean, it's sending you information already. And so we are operating on that. We're not creating something that isn't there. So, but anyway, that reminded me of that when you were talking about that. And you've really spoken to the common thing that I'm seeing is this difference between the degrees of intensity that our mind and our body, like our body is like, and your mind's like, yeah, man, I got to do that. And your body's like,
Right. And the
and
opposite.
when you can get them in alignment,
Right.
then, oh, yeah, that's a go. That's
Right.
a go.
And I did post something on social media recently. It was a post. It didn't even have a picture on it. It was just words, which doesn't get a ton of engagement. But honestly, it was one of the ones that people resonated with so much. And it was about saying yes, and how I've gotten so much better at that. Instead of
Interesting.
absolutely not, this is a terrible idea, or I default to yes. So this particular one was in relation to our radio station, Radio St. Pete, that is here. And when someone approached me and said, hey, how would you feel about having a radio station based here, broadcasting here? And learning my lesson from the massage therapist when my mind was like, no, that's never going to work. I just said, okay, brain, we're not doing this today. We're going with my gut. And I said, absolutely, yes, let's do it. We're going to figure this out. Let's make it happen. And I find that when I sort of embrace yes as my first go-to, that is when the magic happens. And I think that's probably a lot of what you're talking about with self-leadership and being open and not talking yourself out of ideas before they even get a chance to get off the ground.
Well, that's right. That's right. Giving all the possibilities they're due. The thing is, once you have a gut feeling, it cannot be undone. And we've talked about this a little bit, which is, but how far do you trust that? Are you really going to, move to Timbuktu because your gut feeling said yes? So that's kind of a funny example, but the idea is about trust. And some of the things that some of the science behind it, the fact that there's an anatomy, your gut feeling is connected very much to specific nerves in your nervous. There's a whole anatomy behind this, gives me confidence in that. The fact that your body is reading patterns faster than our mind does. There's this whole study they did in the 90s, and it was a computer game, and there were 4 decks of cards, and what the participants didn't know is 2 decks were stacked yes, 2 decks were stacked no, and all they did was click, and they were given $1,000 of Monopoly money. The winner would be the one who got the most money. And so, and they're attached to sensors, and as they clicked on these cards, activity would show the interoceptive system was active. The body was reading the patterns of the cards, and then finally, after 5 minutes, all the participants' bodies are showing activity, and one person finally says, "Hey, are these decks stacked?" And so it's just the study shows you that the body knows patterns and recognizes what's going on quite a bit sooner than the brain catches up to.
What a
And so
great message.
that gives me confidence that, okay, there's something to this. There's really solid stuff. And that when people realize that and you practice it, and I show people how to build it so that when you recognize patterns, when you recognize your upper right arm always tingles when there's a yes, then you start to have confidence as you see the repetition there.
Well, this is phenomenal. I want to wrap this up and give you the opportunity to impart some final words of wisdom to anybody who's listening to this. What are some ways, some easy things that anybody can do right now to practice improving our self-leadership?
So, well, first of all, I just want to say that it comes in short steps, interrupting habits, creating habits. You take on small changes and ultimately lead to big. One of the most common things that people ask about is we get stressed out and we lose a day to a mental loop, somebody we're mad at, somebody did something, and we can't stop it. We want to stop it. We can't stop it. And one of the things I most recently came across was inhale 4 seconds, exhale 6. Inhale 4 seconds, exhale 6. And that may stop that mental loop that goes on. And there's a slew of those out there, but they seem to be really important these days because we're very vulnerable to spinning out. So that would be a specific, but the general would be self-leadership starts now, and it starts with small changes.
Beautiful. How do we find you? What's the best way to sign up for one of your workshops?
Probably the best way is on LinkedIn, and I do promote them through Eventbrite, and we will be scheduling them for May very soon.
All right. Yeah. What's your handle on LinkedIn?
Suzanne Dameron.
Suzanne with a Z.
And there's a Third Edge Studio, but Suzanne Dameron with a Z. Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
I always enjoy talking to you. Any chance I get, I never leave a conversation with you without feeling like I am better and have learned something and have become inspired. So
same here.
You're a true asset to us. So never leave. Thank you.
I will be here.
All righty. Are we still recording? So here's one thing. Here's one thing I would say.
Feel free to pull the microphone close.
When it comes to self-leadership, and this kind of goes back to what you were just talking about with perfection, right? Mm-hmm. And then talking yourself out of ideas and good ideas and bad ideas and listening to your gut. One of the most freeing things that I have discovered over the past couple of years is that people in the highest echelons of leadership don't always really know what they're doing. And that gave me so much validation as a perfectionist and someone who is always, I do have a growth mindset, but that's a slippery slope, right? That can translate into never feeling like you're good enough. And so knowing like, wait, they also don't know what they're doing. Okay. So it's okay that I don't really know what I'm doing. I would say that is a great message for you to share with people when you're trying to get people to come to these workshops is, listen, nobody knows this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even the people who know it can be better at it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all have something to learn from self-leadership.
Yes. Yeah. Those base self-management, self-direction, self-regulation. Yeah. You know, we can always get better at it. And so I'm curious, do you consider yourself having a growth mindset?
I do.
Yeah, okay. And do you actively cultivate that?
Probably not as much as I should.
And if you did, what might you do? Like what would you do differently that you're not doing? Would you like take up is there a passion you're interested in that you'd spend more time on, kind of thing?
Before you answer, can you grab that thing and pull it close to you?
Yeah.
So I swear I'm not saying this because you're sitting across from me, because it's something that I have known even before we had this conversation. But what I would do more of and better is listen to my body more. And there have been times in the past decade that I've made a decision that my gut was telling me this is not a great choice. And I talked myself into it being a good choice. And
It never goes well.
it never goes well.
Never
And so
goes well.
all these competing parts, right, of my brain, I also have this weird thing that I'm both an obnoxious pragmatist, but also very optimistic, and just kind of have this attitude, oh, it'll all work out. It'll be great. It's going to be fine. We're going to make it better. We're going to just keep correcting until we get there, that kind of thing. Except for if you've made a fundamentally bad decision, you can say all of this and believe all this all the live long day. It doesn't make it true. So, so part of my growth mindset is looking at my past, I'm not being dramatic here, but my past failures, my past missteps, and thinking really hard about what was my body telling me at that moment, thinking about that feeling, noting it, recording it, and making sure that the next time that feeling comes up to do a hard check-in with myself.
That sounds like a great approach, a great base to work from. Absolutely. I like to ask people about a gut feeling that they followed and how it turned out, and it's always good. It's always a good choice. And then if you ask people about a gut feeling they had and they didn't follow it, it's just always a terrible outcome.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, in relationships too. Like that's
Very important. And then I have a new perspective on emotional intelligence, which is if our body's telling us yes and we don't do it, or our body's telling us no and we do it, I just think we have an internal resource for emotional intelligence that can really help us out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. We all need
Yes.
some higher EQ
Yes.
these days.
That's right. That's
All
right.
right. Thanks for letting me add that on.
That was
I love the
great.
question.
Yeah.